So we've actually seen quite a few Mehdi Hasan clips in the past couple of days. Most recently, I actually did a video on an interview Mehdi Hasan did with a Joe Biden delegate by the name of Lindy Lee. And, he just asked the most basic questions possible. And she literally crumbled under the most basic questioning I've ever seen in my life, right? So we also saw him on Chris Hayes' show where he just completely bulldozed it. Mehdi Hasan goes on Chris Cuomo's primetime here and just absolutely bulldozes the pro-Joe Biden narrative that the media has been having. The media the media gave him $100 million of free advertising coverage, which they're obviously not doing for Bernie Sanders. So that's a big reason as to why he was winning. But Mehdi Hasan just goes off. So let's go ahead and check this out because it is truly nothing short of pure awesome.
Rivals, the quote-unquote establishment. He got support from actual ordinary grassroots Democrats, especially black voters across the country, who said this is the guy who can beat Trump. Now, that needs to be tested. He's now the front runner again. When Bernie was the front runner, that needed to be tested. It needs to be tested now. I'm worried he's not being tested. There's this weird assumption that, yes, compared to Bernie Sanders, he's definitely the electable guy. Forget Sanders.
You're right. That's what I was trying to do last night when this fight
Sanders
broke out in the middle of this thing. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to say each of you have perceived weaknesses. Let's see who deals with it better. But, I guess that central concern is, you're right, always the primary bruises you up and someone uses it against you in the general. But this issue, what they're talking about here, it's your fundamental high ground against Trump, and you're giving it away.
I think my personal view of Biden is the problem with his candidacy, and there's many pros, but the many cons are that you give away a lot of things that you want to go after Trump about. Whether it's kind of the perception of corruption, whether it's the whole family members issue, whether it's the how coherent are they issue. I think there's a lot of issues that you throw away there. And I think that the big problem with Biden is there's a sense that, okay, he's the establishment candidate. He's, of course, the more electable guy. The problem is we in the media, Chris, and, of course, Democratic Party elites, if you want to call them that, are not very good at picking the electable guy. In 2000, Al Gore, how did that work out? In 2004, John Kerry, how did that work out? In 2016, Hillary Clinton, how did that work out? It was actually an outsider with a funny name who some people thought was from Kenya who actually won the election last for the Democrats, who wasn't actually at the time perceived as the establishment or the favorite candidate. He was seen as a risky candidate, Barack Obama, in 2008.
Sadly, the president, up until very recently, was arguing that Obama may still
as you guys all see there, Mehdi Hasan just basically goes on there, completely bulldozes the pro-Joe Biden narrative that exists in mainstream media, especially on CNN and MSNBC and on these networks. And so I'm very grateful when I see someone like Mehdi Hasan just go on and just completely bulldoze it, because we never hear these kinds of things. And so for him to go in and kind of pop all these mainstream media bogus narratives, right, of, oh, Joe Biden's the electable candidate, oh, there aren't any functional problems with his brain, and all these different things, right? And funny, he mentions Al Gore there. Al Gore, he was so stupid, he actually picked Joe Lieberman, the worst person for vice president, because the dude was basically a Republican. You guys want to know why we didn't get a public option? It's because of Joe effing Lieberman, all right? And he was the vice president that Al Gore picked. That was a big reason why he lost, dude. People were pissed about that. I know people who didn't even vote for him because of that, because he picked Joe Lieberman. So, it was really, really a big time, screw up, heavy screw up, But, yeah, so, I'm glad that he's talking about the coherency on CNN and stuff. And I've also seen, I think, like the first segment I've seen of CNN where they actually have this sort of breakdown of what's going on, and they actually tell the truth about Biden's incoherency, which is pretty shocking to see, right? It's a little bit crazy to see that they're actually down to talk about the incoherency and how he's hiding. He only comes out to speak for 7 minutes, and even in those 7 minutes, it's gaffe-ridden to hell. So it's good to see that. And then when Mehdi comes on and just kind of bursts everything, it's really good. And Chris Cuomo definitely likes him. At the end of this clip, actually, he praises him, says hopefully he can come on more, which is really good because we need Mehdi Hasan on everywhere, because he's probably, in this past 2 weeks, he's definitely number one in terms of progressive person going on mainstream media to pop these bubbles. And, when he says, oh, it doesn't matter about Bernie Sanders or whatever, I'm okay with him saying that, because I think that's a good way to frame it in this situation, to convince people actually that Joe Biden's not the right person. And so he has a lot of familial problems as well, like Hunter Biden and Burisma and all that stuff. That's going to come back to haunt him really bad in the general. And Trump is already using that, NAFTA, Social Security and Medicare, and he's using the cognitive function problem against him. So once again, shout out to Mehdi Hasan, absolutely going ham. Really awesome clip on CNN with Mehdi Hasan.